Streaming 24/7.
24/7.
Bold Moves Radio.
Bold Moves Radio.
Afrika nakupenda sana. Oh, Afrika nakupenda sana.
Africa, nakupenda sana yo. You know, ladies and gentlemen, once you hear that sound, you know you have come to the right platform. This is the African Experience with me, Dr. Ngwenya. You know, normally I'm always with my co-host here, AVENTINA MABUNDA, but today she's actually gallivanting, the world, trying to go and get information and all that. So you will be with me tonight, alone. I'm actually broadcasting live from Rwanda. Wow, it doesn't get any better than this. Rwanda, they call it the land of, thousand hills. I've always heard that, Rwanda, or maybe Kigali, for example, the capital of Rwanda, it's one of the cleanest, cities in Africa. And I'm here to actually experience that firsthand. Wow, what a clean, city. The people are so hospitable. It's so amazing. I'm enjoying my stay here. Maybe I know people were asking, I don't know why, what are you doing in Rwanda and all that? I'm actually here conducting a training on advocacy. But that is a story for another day. I'm here, I'm engaging with people from Kenya, Uganda, Burkina Faso, Tanzania, Ghana, South Africa, Mozambique, Ethiopia, just to name a few. It's so amazing. Intelligent people, experienced people and all that. And this is what Africa is all about. And this is what the African Experience is all about. Okay, the show is not about me today and it's not about Rwanda, but surely we're going to profile Rwanda sometime. I have a very, very, very exciting guest tonight. Before I actually bring him to introduce himself, there's something, I just want to say something about this man. I've met him, some time back. I'm following him on social media. There's something that stands out every time. Whether I see his picture, whether I'm talking to him, he just has such positive energy. When I'm around him, he actually transmits, such, positive energy. Ladies and gentlemen, let us welcome our guest for tonight. He's none other than Duncan Masiwa. Duncan, welcome to the African Experience.
Hello, Shelby. Thank you so much for having me. I am really excited to be talking with you. I think you and I met each other, was it little over 2 years ago? 2 years ago. And yeah, I've also discovered that you are also a poet as myself. So it's definitely exciting to have this conversation with you.
Mm-hmm. I'm so excited. Like I always say, every time I see you, you bring such positive energy. Okay, maybe for our listeners that are listening there, who is Duncan Masiwa? Just in a nutshell, who are you?
And of course, that's not an easy question. But in a nutshell, Duncan is, I always say this, I am a son, I am a lover, I am a child of God, I am someone who is in love with hearing people's stories. I love authenticity, I love experiencing and meeting new people. I love to give of myself and hopefully, it have a positive impact on people. And I say that because oftentimes we make the mistake of saying that, I am my career, I am a journalist. And I always say that's not who I am, that's what I do. So there's a big difference in that. So that is what I do, but who I am is, the list of things that I just went through. But if we had to look at it from a career perspective, I am an agricultural journalist. I am the assistant editor for one of the biggest agricultural publications in South Africa, Food for MZANSI. I'm also a podcast host of Farmers Inside Track podcast, where we share agricultural news and agricultural stories, the same as with Food for MZANSI. And he's also recently a TV presenter of a TV presenter of a agricultural show called Farming with Nature that is on TV at the moment. And that's from a career perspective, that is who I am.
Okay, so we're going to unpack that. I'm sure our listeners are thinking, agricultural journalist, somebody who's studying journalism might not see their pathway into agriculture. And I think we're going to unpack that a little bit. Let's go back, to your career, maybe to your study. What did you study?
Yeah. So my journey is somewhat different compared to the conventional route. So
Mm-hmm.
I, after matriculating from high school, I never went to go study. In fact, I went to go work in the hospitality industry, and
Okay.
I was there for a couple of years. Absolutely loved it, and I
Mm-hmm.
got the opportunity to do a short course through the specific hotel brand that I was working at.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's how I was introduced to the world of adulthood,
Mm-hmm.
working in the hospitality industry. It's only
Mm-hmm.
recently that I started studying
Mm.
journalism. So yeah, I'm sure we'll get into some of the nitty gritties of how I
Okay.
left the hospitality industry and
Mm-hmm.
went into the journalism industry.
Yeah. Wow. It's very interesting. And I always tell my guests that I'm very big on stalking people. I literally dig and dig because I want to see and understand, the people that I'm talking to. And I did the same with you. I went, stalking and all that. And I see that, the whole industry, hospitality, entertainment. It's not something that is starting now. Maybe before we do that, I want, DJ Messi, there is a picture that I found of Duncan, and I think, I don't know how old he was, but I wanted to show the picture.
How far did you go?
Okay, 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 okay. So this is what I found.
Gosh.
So tell me a little bit, what how far back this was and what was happening here.
Oh my, how far back is this? This is, I would say, more than 7 years back.
Okay.
Yeah, this is a completely different Duncan. This is a
Yeah.
completely different Duncan. At this time, I was still working in the hospitality industry. So
Yeah.
what's happening there is, like I said, I do poetry, and that's
Yeah.
where my gift for writing started. It started with
I see.
poetry,
I
and
see.
yeah, I uh, took the plunge to do to shoot a poetry video,
I
and
see.
the poem there is called "The Price Was Paid," and yeah,
Wow.
that was one of the first poems that I actually professionally recorded.
Wow.
Shot a video for it, had
Mm.
dances. It was a beautiful time in my life. I don't do poetry as much as I'd like to, but it's
Yeah.
definitely something that I miss.
I think I'll bring you back because I actually found, my poetry, the poetic me, I actually found it later in life and I'm really enjoying it. But anyway, that is really, really interesting because I could see that, you have, this thing and the talent and surely coming from the hospitality industry and land yourself in agriculture. What attracted you to agriculture?
Sure. I Before entering the world of agriculture, I knew absolutely nothing about producing food. And if you had to ask me a few years ago where our food came from, I would have told you from a supermarket shelf. that
Okay.
would have that would have been my answer. Uh,
Mm,
yeah, I had no idea. I'd never imagined that I would find myself in the agricultural space. And maybe just to give you some background, Shami,
mm, mm,
you know, told I worked in the hospitality industry. Absolutely loved it, every moment of it.
mm,
Being able to serve people in that way, and I think I always say this. I was about 21 years old, and I was earning. Now, for me, this is a lot. For some people, it might not be, but at the age of 21, I was not without having studied. I was earning a salary of over 16,000 rand. So for
mm.
me, at that age, I'm so young. It's a massive achievement, and I absolutely loved it. I absolutely loved growing within that space. But there was something else that I wanted to do, something else that I wanted to pursue, and that was obviously my gift of writing. And I went in one morning. The railway system was still working back then, and I used the train. I went to work one morning. My shift started at 6 o'clock in the morning, and I went to work that morning, and I was getting everything prepared for the bosses, the reports and all of that. And I remember my direct line manager came to work around just before 8 o'clock, before we had our morning meetings every day, and I told him, "This is my last day. This is my last day in hospitality industry, and not only is it my last day, I'm going home now." I'm going home now. I'm not waiting for my shift. I'm going home now. And obviously he, being an amazing person, he said, "Duncan, I'm not going to let you throw away your future." He literally pinned me against the wall and said, "Duncan, I'm not allowing you to throw away your future." And I said, "There's something else that I want to pursue," and I pursued it. And I left that morning, Shami. I left that morning with 89 in my bank account. I had no idea what I was going to do after that. I just knew that I had this gift and I had this vision and I had faith on the other side. And I wanted to do this gift of writing. And I did that. And I kid you not, 2 weeks later, 2 weeks after that, remember, never having studied journalism, never introduced to any form of journalistic skills training, none whatsoever. 2 weeks after signing, I started working at a local community newspaper, where I was just writing motivational columns. And I think it came from the poetry, wanting to of motivation to other people. And I started writing columns. I started doing that. 2 weeks after that, so this is now a month after having resigned, a friend of mine from Joburg called me and said, "Listen, I need your help with something." And he's a filmmaker, a documentary maker. And my background is, I come from an Afrikaans speaking home, and he was shooting a documentary. And in this specific episode, there were two gentlemen speaking Afrikaans, and he calls me, "Listen, I need your help. I need you to help translate what these guys are saying." So weeks after resigning, I found myself doing translations for a documentary that aired on SABC3. No experience whatsoever, and I can only give God credit for that. And from there, my journey has been absolutely amazing. I work now in the agricultural space as an agricultural journalist. Had no idea that would be the space that I would find myself in, but I'm loving every minute of it.
Yeah, I think, we're going to take a commercial break very shortly because I want you to unpack a little bit what attracted you to actually agriculture. I always say, I've worked in the agri space for I don't know how many years, and I always say I came to the agriculture through the back door, and I think, you actually did the same. But maybe before I see some people online, and I'll acknowledge you, but for now, we're going to take a commercial break. Don't go away because we have so much exciting news, to share. Let's take a commercial break. Wow, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. This is the African Experience with me, Dr. Hlami, broadcasting live from Rwanda. and they call it the land of thousand hills. Tonight we are talking to a very, very exciting, it's like I always say, whenever you talk to Duncan, you feel the positive energy, and he brings the positive energy into the show. Well, Duncan, before we went on a at break, I still wanted to know a little bit about how did you find yourself in the agri space in the first place?
Yeah. So even that uh, bit of a story of only God could have done it. I, so after having left the hospitality industry and I was now freelancing for the local community newspaper. I told myself, okay, Duncan, you simply cannot just uh, back on your gift for writing. I needed to back this up with some kind of qualification.
Mm-hmm.
And I enrolled in a 6 month course. It was online, and that was just to give me the basic fundamentals of journalism and what are some of the things that I needed to take into consideration when it comes to writing a story, conducting interviews, and all of that. And I did that. And just as I was about to complete this course, a friend of mine sent me a screenshot of
Mm-hmm.
a post that was made on Facebook by Food from Zanzi, and
Mm-hmm.
there was opportunity for a journalist. And I
Mm-hmm.
said, oh, I have no idea what agriculture is.
Mm-hmm.
My my knowledge on the sector is very limited, but let me
Mm-hmm.
give this a try. Let me give this a try. I applied,
Okay.
and I kid you not, uh, the person that shared the post with me
Mm-hmm.
somehow knew the one of the founders of Food from Zanzi,
Mm-hmm.
and was able to facilitate that conversation. And
Mm-hmm.
so without any experience, I was able to find myself in this wonderful company that seeks to spotlight farmers and unsung heroes
Mm-hmm.
in the agricultural space. And like I said,
Mm-hmm.
I'm studying now. I'm only studying journalism now. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that's how it happened.
Wow, wow, wow. What a story. And when you talk about passion, when passion, find you, and I'm sure if I was, that person who gave you an opportunity, I will, knowing what I know about you, I will definitely, push you, to the end because you have the passion, you give the energy, you give everything. And I'm not the only one who's actually saying that. Let me acknowledge, some people who are joining online. And Game Manganyi, thank you so much for joining. We can see you. Good evening, family, and thank you for a great show. But also, there's somebody called Monli Tusi, and I think he's already talking about the TV shows. He said, your TV show is very educational, Duncan. Duncan makes one want to learn more. And how you narrate people's stories is amazing. You are such an inspiration to the South African youth. Keep shining. I agree. I couldn't really agree with you more. Maybe talking about, this narration of stories. The theme for tonight's show, which you chose, is farmer stories, celebrating farmer stories. Do you want to say something about that? Why did you choose, this theme?
Yeah. So, it all comes back to the publication that I work for, which is Food from Zanzi. So for
Okay,
those of
hold on. Yeah, maybe let's go back, a step back. We talk maybe a little bit about, food from Zanzibar, then it will flow through. Yeah, maybe tell
perfect.
us a little bit more about that organization or company.
Certainly. So, Food from Zanzi is an agricultural publication, and was started. We are now in our fifth year. So, was started about 5 years ago, and
Mm-hmm.
we are the new kids on the agricultural block when it comes to meat. And it was started with the vision. The co-founders of Food from Zanzi, Ivor
Mm-hmm.
Price and Chris Lawrence, was started with the idea to change the narrative around agriculture. Tlami, you would know that agriculture in South Africa, in the South African context, it's not a beautiful history. Um, it's not a appetizing history when we look at the agricultural sector and how that played out. And we wanted to change the perception or the negative narrative that existed around the agricultural space. One of those being one of those was that there was no such thing as a successful black farmer, and that is what a lot of us thought. Yet there were so many successful black farmers, and they are young, they are women, they are a ladies coming together, to farm and produce food in the communities. And we wanted to change that perception. For a long time, in mainstream media, you did not see a black farmer on your screen. You did not see these people. You did not hear their stories, and we wanted to change that. So that's how we started. But as we grew, we learned that the agricultural sector was so big. There was not just small scale farmers. There were subsistence farmers. There were backyard farmers. There were this entire commercial sector, and they were so divided. And we thought, why is it that the agricultural sector is so divided when they are the sector that produces food and ensures that we have food on our table? And we wanted to bring these different segments together. So yeah, that's Food from Zanzi in a nutshell, for you.
Okay. Okay, so and what is your role in Food from Zanzi? What do you do when you say I'm going to work and I'm working? What do you do there?
Yeah. So, bit of a jack of all trades, but my official title is assistant editor for the agricultural publication, also a podcast host, and with that, I also get to do some fun things, hosting webinars, facilitating panel discussions. I was able to facilitate a panel discussion all the way in Ivory Coast, in Cote. So
Wow.
yeah, I get to start do some of these fun things, and like I said, the TV show, of course, as well.
Okay, now we will unpack, the TV show. So maybe let me just go to, DJ Messi. Let me see, because I know I've been harvesting, some of the pictures, very exciting pictures. I want to see if we can show any of the pictures that we came across, and you tell us a little bit what was going on there. DJ Messi, do you have some more pictures? Maybe one or two? Huh. Okay. 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 What was happening there?
So yeah, I am at a nursery not too far from where I stay, and yeah, that's a nursery under shade netting. With Farmer Allen and Farmer Eugene. They also have a beautiful story of how Eugene, she left the medical industry. She was worked in the medical industry and found a passion for agriculture. Her and her family have this a beautiful business where they cultivate seedlings and then they sell it into different markets. So that is where that picture was taken. And I was actually doing an interview that day. I believe that was
Okay.
actually the first time that I had met them face to
Okay.
face. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Wow. This is very exciting. And what was happening there? Hi boer op die kassie. Oh, something like
Yay!
that.
That was so perfect. This the Son, translated into English, the Sun,
Yeah.
and it's one of the biggest publications, newspapers in the Western Cape. And the title there reads "Hy boer op die kassie," and this refers to the TV show that
Yeah.
was of course recently launched, and
Okay.
they did a little article there about me, and the response has been absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
I say just to the TV show, Hlami, uh, some people have vision boards, and I don't have a vision board. I have a vision book. I
Okay.
yeah, I still need to get a vision board. I have a vision book.
Okay,
And
okay. What is the difference?
there's no difference. It was just the easiest thing that I could grab to write my
Mm-hmm.
goals down.
Yeah, yeah.
And in this book, I created a list of things that I wanted to do. I created this list in 2018. And I think that was
Mm,
the first time that I really started dreaming about my
mm,
future and some of the things that I wanted to achieve. So I took this
mm,
book and I started writing some of the things that I wanted to do. And I
mm,
kid you not, one of the things on that list, and of course I attached a timeline to all those things. And one
mm.
of the things on that list was being a TV presenter. So
Okay.
this was back in 2018. And the
Mm,
timeline, this is God, the
mm,
timeline that I attached to it was
mm.
2030. And it happened
Okay.
exactly as that. So
Wow.
it's just been a beautiful full circle experience for me in seeing how some of the dreams that I have are actually coming true.
Mm. And I think I want us to talk a little bit more about the TV show, but maybe not now. When we come back from the next break, because I want us to have sufficient time. How did it come about? What do you do there, and things like that. I just want to see if we can get maybe yet another picture that we can show, because I know I've been following you on social media. You are doing very exciting things. Okay,
Oh,
so there we go. And I also like how you're actually capturing, the moment. So I actually took this picture from your social media platform, and you're talking about the potato farmers and whatnot. Tell us a little bit more about what's going on there.
yeah, so that was recently, and that
Mm,
was a project that we did with AGDA. They are a development agency or organization that seeks
mm-hmm,
to develop farmers of all scales, small scale farmers, and hopefully
mm-hmm,
help commercialize them. So this
mm,
was a project that we did for them. We filmed a couple of farmers in Limpopo, and
mm-hmm,
yeah, it's beautiful to see how farmers are emerging from small scale to
mm-hmm.
commercialization, and it's always so beautiful to see how all these different stakeholders and collaborators are coming
Mm-hmm.
together aside their differences and their issues, whatever they may be, but coming together for the sake of agricultural development in South Africa. And I think that is one of the picture that you showed there was one of is proof, of
Yeah.
how collaboration
Yeah.
in the agricultural sector can really benefit people's lives.
Absolutely. I like, how you're telling the story of agriculture in the manner that is really convincing. One of the things that I also say, it's there's a campaign that I'm promoting. It's called Perfect Opportunities, because in most cases, when people think of agriculture, they think of primary production. And
Yes.
with that campaign, it's perfect is literally an acronym where we talk about policy, education, research, farming, extension and advisory services, but also communications, technologies, and trade. And here you are, a young person who found your route into the agri sector, not through the farming pathway, but
Mm.
through your passion for communication and journalism and all that. And I think from what you are doing is really a true example of how people can find different ways to come into the agri sector. It does not necessarily have to be through primary production, while primary production is very important, but there are different things that people can actually do in the sector. I
Definitely.
just want us to take, a very short break. And then when we come back, we're going to unpack a little bit about some of the major highlights that you found, but also tell us a little bit more about, the career, actually your TV, presenting career that has actually come to life. We're going to take a commercial break. Ladies and gentlemen, don't go away.
Are you ready for the ultimate dietary powerhouse? Look no further than Masana Dietitian's Nutro Boost. Our scientifically formulated low GI food is designed to give you the boost you need to fuel your body and reach your health goals. With NutriBoost, you have the flexibility to enjoy it as a high-fiber cereal or a satisfying shake. Simply mix it with water and indulge in the mouth-watering flavors that we have to offer. But that's not all. NutriBoost is packed with essential nutrients that are beneficial for your overall well-being. Enriched with 20 immune-boosting vitamins and minerals, it's a convenient and effective way to support your immune system. And here's the best part. NutriBoost is gluten-free, egg-free, and high in omega-3, making it suitable for those with dietary restrictions or allergies. Need an energy boost? NutriBoost has you covered. It's high in energy and protein, providing you with the fuel you need to power through your day. Whether it's a busy morning or an intense workout session, say goodbye to midday slumps and hello to sustained energy with NutriBoost. Try it today and experience the difference. For orders or to become a distributor, contact us on the following details.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. This is the next half of, the African experience. It's me with Dr. Hlami here. I'm talking to a very, very, very exciting, person who loves telling stories of farmers. Before we went on the ad break, I was still, talking about how he found, his niche within the agricultural sector. He's not the farmer, but he loves, the story of farmers. And in what he does, he documents the stories of farmers, he shares and he talks about that. Well, I'm talking to Duncan. Duncan, yes, before we went on the ad break, we were still talking a little bit about, how you found passion and all that. Before the show, you were telling me a little bit about how you see the gap between what is happening, either with science, the knowledge, and maybe what the farmers are actually doing. And there's always a knowledge gap, somewhere. What are some of the major highlights that you actually come across as you talk with farmers and document their stories?
Yeah, I think one of the most amazing things about the agricultural sector is that it's constantly evolving and there's constantly growth happening within the agricultural space. Technology coming in, helping farmers to improve their yields, improve their profitability and sustainability, and also the concept of farming closer with nature, farming with nature rather, instead of farming against nature. And if you think about climate change has definitely had an impact on agriculture. Is already having an impact on agriculture. There are so many examples of how global warming is affecting not just South Africa's agricultural industry, but the global agricultural industry. And it's so important that as an agricultural sector that we start thinking about ways to improve the way we farm, ways to do better. And I suppose that is where things like biotechnology come in. That's where smart farming comes in. That's where conservation farming comes in. And some of the things that we've picked up in our communication with farmers and some of the farmers' days that we are actually hosting currently in different corners of the country, is that there's this big knowledge gap where it's so difficult for farmers to understand the science when it comes to farming, and it's so important for the science to be actually broken down and made simple rather for farmers, so that they can understand it rather. And I suppose that's where communication comes in. That's where the media comes in. I always the agricultural media has such an important role to play in protecting and safeguarding the image of South African agriculture. Tami, you would know that a newspaper headline can be so devastating to an entire industry that is dependent on agricultural imports and agricultural exports. So
Mm,
As agricultural media houses, we have such an important responsibility, to ensure
mm,
the news that we share, yes, is factual, but also doesn't cause damage or harm to the agricultural sector. And that's what I love
sector.
about us,
Yeah.
the responsibility that comes with being a journalist in agriculture, not only
Mm,
to develop and share insightful information, but information
mm-hmm.
that will ultimately contribute to the growth of South Africa's agricultural sector.
Wow. Wow. I'm actually listening in because you are food from Zanzi and you're talking about, South Africa. I'm sitting here in Rwanda. Like I said, I'm busy, doing training on advocacy, and people are talking about biotechnologies and all that. There are 10 different countries. And I'm just thinking, do you perhaps think of expanding your publications beyond Mzansi and beginning to look at how agriculture, on the African continent, and begin to tell those stories? Is it something that is in the pipeline? Have you thought about it? Because it's just a coincidence that I'm sitting here, we're talking about the same things, and you are sitting there, you are doing some providing some of the solutions. Is there something that you might be thinking about, or you have not really thought about as a company?
So what's interesting is that there are only a few agricultural or publications that are dedicated to agriculture in the country, not just in the country, on the continent. And the major publications are here in South Africa. You'll know the Food from Zanzi, the Farmers
Mm-hmm.
Weeklies, the Landbouw Weekblad. Those are the major publications when it comes to agriculture on the continent. Food
Mm-hmm.
from Zanzi a few years ago actually branched out into Africa and
Mm-hmm.
established Food for Africa, which is
I see.
an agricultural publication that focus on the wider Africa,
Okay.
sub-Saharan Africa. So that's actually
Mm-hmm.
something that we started doing, and it's
Okay.
so amazing to see how different the different countries approach agriculture.
Mm-hmm.
Sub-Saharan Africa are very technology focused.
Mm-hmm.
They are Some of them are able to achieve more on smaller plots
Mm-hmm.
compared to farmers here in South Africa. So it's always so interesting to see the different dynamics in terms of
Mm-hmm.
how agriculture plays out in a different part of the world compared to here in our home country. But definitely, Food from Zanzi does have a publication focused on Africa.
Okay, well, let me go to the lines. I see, Mandla Aventina Wakamabunda, that is actually my co host. And I love it, that when she's not on show, she still finds a bit time, to actually listen wherever she is. She's saying very educational show, my co host, great stuff. With all the growth in agriculture, how can we make it more fashionable, to the youth? And I think that are some of the questions that are actually coming. Um, Maybe before you even respond to that, I want us to go back to the vision that you had for yourself. Like you said, in 2018, you were writing your vision on your vision book and all that. And one of the things that you saw yourself doing is to become a TV presenter. And recently, you have actually become one. Tell us a little bit more about that. How far back, what happened, and what kind of show, and what do you do then?
Yeah. So the show, which is called Farming with Nature, it aired on DSTV channel 180 and OpenView channel 115. So that's the People's Weather channel. And the concept came about to look at how conservation farming, changed how agriculture was being done in what we call the Southern Cape, which is a community within the Western Cape. And a few
Mm-hmm.
years ago, many years ago actually, a gentleman by the name of Jack Heeman, uh,
Mm-hmm.
he was forced to look at a different way of farming because
Mm-hmm.
they had this flood that went through the area and it completely destroyed their topsoil in the region. So you can imagine the impact that flood has on the agricultural sector, but more so,
Mm-hmm.
especially on the soil that our farmers used to actually produce and cultivate their crops, and
Mm.
they were forced to think differently.
Mm.
How do we farm differently? How do I, in the event that there is another flood, how do I ensure that my soil is protected? And they had to look
Mm.
at conservation strategies, which, like I said,
Mm.
looks at farming closer with nature and not
Yep.
against nature. Because there's a different couple of
Absolutely.
principles that comes with that. So that is what the first show focuses on. It highlights the story of, six farmers in the area and how they
Mm-hmm.
are utilizing conservation practices,
Yeah.
to improve their yields and ensure that,
Mm-hmm.
when there are dry periods, when there are difficult seasons, that they are
Mm-hmm.
actually able to maintain an average yield, compared to someone else who's not practicing conservation agriculture, who would, of course,
Yeah.
then have a lower yield than what they are used to. So yeah,
Okay.
that's the story of farming with nature.
Wow, wow, that is really, really so beautiful. It's very interesting because one of the buzzwords that we hear in agriculture, especially in the global space, is the whole issue around climate smart agriculture, which is not very new, but the newest buzzword is about agroecology. And I think the things that you are doing in your show, you link to what is actually happening on the global space.
Mm. And
Okay, so let me see.
no, I just wanted to
Go ahead.
emphasize it's so important to have this conversation, and thanks for allowing us, to be able to have this conversation around conservation farming. It's so important, we simply cannot rely on traditional methods of farming anymore. Unfortunately, it's not going to work. If we continue with the traditional way of farming and how we cultivate our crops and how we breed our cattle, 20 years from now, there won't be any good soil left to produce the
Mm-hmm.
food that we eat. So,
Mm-hmm.
it's important to have these conversations about, how farmers can farm with nature,
Mm.
instead of against nature. So yeah, thank you
Yep.
for allowing us to have this conversation.
Okay, absolutely, absolutely. This is really, really very exciting. Okay, so we're gonna another commercial break, the last one. When we come back, I wanna talk to you personally. Where do you see yourself in the next, 10 years? And then go back, to this month that we are celebrating, which is Food Security Month, and just to get some of your insight around that. Let's take another commercial. Gentlemen, don't go away because we are talking something very important, with Duncan. Don't go away. Wow, wow, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. This is the last half of the experience with Dr. Hlami. Apologies for that, technical glitch. I think there was a short, technical glitch with the advert that was aired. Yes, we are talking to Duncan. He's an agricultural journalist. He's doing everything around agriculture, documenting and talking about, farmer stories. And before we went break, he was talking about the importance of actually documenting the stories of farming, with nature and not against the nature. Duncan, let's use, the last part of the show. I just want to know where you see yourself, in the next, 10 years or so, or 5 to 10 years.
Sure. Uh, Definitely, it's a couple of things that I have in my vision book, Chabi. Definitely, one of the things is I have obviously a passion for storytelling, and a different way that I love telling stories is through screenwriting, script writing. So my dreams is to also the film and television industry, and telling stories that matter, telling stories that.
Okay, I might have lost you there. Duncan, telling the stories that matter. Ladies and gentlemen, we are really talking to Duncan. There must be a technical glitch, there. Okay.
Between people like yourself, agricultural role players and farmers, and bringing these two worlds together, so that we find solutions, for some of the most pressing things that we face within the agricultural sector.
Okay. Wow. So this month, it's Food Security Month, and because the 16th of October is actually World Food Day, from the global perspective, or the UN calendar. And in South Africa, we have been celebrating Food Security Month. And what key messages do you want to share with the listeners around the food security in South Africa, or on the continent, or overall? What is your take there?
We need to participate. We need to participate within the agricultural space. Oftentimes, we think that in order for you to be a farmer, you need this big plot of land. No, you need your backyard. You need your patio. All you need is your patio. You need a small space in your community where garbage is being thrown, where there's trash. Clean it up. Plant vegetables. Feed your community. Because the realities are that food is becoming expensive, and the South African purse is struggling to deal with the cost of living, to be able to afford food. So how do we address that? One of the ways is by producing and growing your own food in your backyard garden, and who knows, that could turn into an agricultural business, an agricultural venture. So definitely, explore opportunities in agriculture. You don't need a big plot of land to produce food. Start small. But I think my message is to simply start.
Wow, I like that message, where people should not think of getting the big block, but you are saying you can actually start small. Okay, I just want to see maybe if we can share more pictures of you, because I know I harvested a lot. DJ Messi, let me see, what more pictures do you have of Duncan in action, so that we can see what he was doing. And I think there was something. Oh, okay. I think this is the recent one in Mpumalanga. I captured it as it is on your Facebook. Mpumalanga and Limpopo are not just destination with sun. Explain it more, what's happening here.
Yeah. So currently we are traveling different corners of the beautiful South Africa to host our Farmers Days. I'm not sure if you know that annually Food from MZANSI hosts what we call Farmers MZANSI Young Farmers in Daba, and it's this huge event where we all come together in Johannesburg. Farmers from different parts of the country come together, and we talk all things agriculture. It's an opportunity for farmers to connect with funders, meet investors, and hopefully engage with business partners. But we realized that there was such a huge part of the country, or big part of the agricultural sector, that could not attend these events. And we said, actually, we need to go to the source. We need to go into these communities where people are, where your small scale farmers are, where, farmers that want to commercialize, but they struggle. They don't have access to the information to help them commercialize and take that next step in their agricultural journey. So we decided to go to different corners of the country, and that is, of course, the picture that you just showed there, where we were in Mpumalanga and Limpopo last week, where we were hosting our Farmers Day there. And again, Klami, it's really evident the knowledge gap that you see when you go to these events. Um, Farmers never having heard about biotechnology, never having heard about conservation farming and what that looks like and why that is important. So, once again, we see the value in having these kinds of events so that we can bridge the knowledge gap that exists, so that we can, of course, take the agricultural sector forward. This one, so of course the TV show. There I am with Siadia de Toit. He's one of the biggest canola farmers in the Southern Cape, in the Western Cape. And yeah, we were on his farm, and he was telling me his story of how he started his agricultural journey, and how the conservation farming has enabled him to actually continue farming. I think one of the things that stood out for me in his story was that, he said that without conservation farming, he would not be here today. His business would have definitely closed down. He would have definitely sold his farm, because the tough and rugged conditions that exist in his area, would have eventually forced him to quit farming. But of course, through conservation farming, he was able to turn things around. I think this is one of the stories where you really see conservation farming coming to its full potential. So this is in our home in Makassar, where I stay. I think I was going through a wannabe chef period in my life. I had an entire setup in our kitchen where I would film, short videos cooking something. Those videos have never seen the light of day. I have no idea where they are now. But yeah, this was my phase of trying to be a chef. Uh, yeah, this is in my mother's kitchen. I'm sure if she sees these pictures now, she will think, Duncan, what were you doing in my kitchen? She doesn't trust me, by the way, in her kitchen. Yeah, another picture. Ah, yeah, so this is earlier in September, where I was able to facilitate a conversation between the newly appointed Land Bank CEO, Timba Rikoto, and of course, Agri Western Cape CEO, Yanis Tredom. This was a beautiful moment for me, Shami. I was able to, so early in my career, facilitate such an important conversation between these industry decision makers. Definitely one of my career highlights. We were talking about land bank and their new vision, and their new approach to agricultural financing. For those of you who don't know, land bank is the agricultural bank in South Africa. And you can, of course, go and do research. Land bank was, of course, going through a really tough and difficult period where they were unable to finance the agricultural sector. But yeah, there seems to be a bit of optimism in the agricultural space under the new leadership, which is of course Tim Marikotsa, and that's one of the conversations that we were having with him.
Sure, sure. I think that it's so much, with your passion, but telling the story, say the story that matter. There's someone who once said that, and was asking people if they ate, that morning, and people say yes. And he said, if you are eating, then you are participating in agriculture in one way or another as a consumer. And hearing your passion, using your talent to really tell the beautiful story, agriculture. So much for sharing that story with us, and we say keep on and keep on telling those stories. Every buyer, the agriculture sector that I'm actually working in. Well, lastly, we always talk about the parting shot. With these few seconds that are left, what is your parting shot? What is that you want to share with the people that are listening tonight?
I think just reflecting on this conversation that we had, it's always so interesting. When I do tell my story, how I'm always reminded of where it all started. And I think one of the key things for me in being able to achieve all that I have so early in my career and so early in my life was, being willing to inconvenience myself. I've always believed in order to achieve those important goals and dreams that you have to be willing to inconvenience yourself. I find myself early mornings and late nights doing work, but it's such a passion that I don't even feel that, and one of the things that I always share with people is that if your dreams and your goals are important to you, you won't look for convenience. You're not going to find your purpose in convenience. I've just been big on being willing to inconvenience myself.
Wow, that is really, really a valuable lesson. I hope, listeners are learning, we're willing to inconvenience ourselves because we want to pursue our passion and our dreams. Thank you so much. Last but not least, where can people find you if they want to connect with you, they want to engage with you, and they want, maybe the services that you provide?
Yeah, of course. There's the Food for MZANSI platform, which is www.foodformzansi.co.za. They can find us on our social media platforms on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, and of course that's at Food for MZANSI. For me, it's Duncan on Facebook, and on Instagram, it's Duncan at Duncan Masiwa. Twitter, it's at Duncan Masiwa SA. Yeah, it's definitely where you can look for me, and also on LinkedIn, Duncan Masiwa.
Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, and thank you so much to our technical producers for the show. And I want to thank you, Duncan, for spending an hour. An hour is such a long time for you to share with us your passion. And thank you so much, and God bless. Ladies and gentlemen, next week, same time, same platform, we'll be bringing you more exciting news as we celebrate Food Security Month here on the African Experience with me, Dr. Hlaming, on Bold Move Radio. Thank you so much, and thank you to our technical producer. God bless.
24/7. 24/7.
Bold Moves Radio.
Bold Moves Radio.
Afrika nakupenda sana, oh Afrika nakupenda sana.